Lightly dust your surface area or decorating mat with the powdered sugar and cornstarch combo to prevent sticking. Next, you're going to use your roller and you're going to thin out your fondant. Think of it like pizza dough. You're going to keep moving it and lifting your fondant to make sure that it's not sticking on the mat. As you can see, it does take some time. You got to put a little elbow into it as you keep moving your fondant around, making sure that it's not sticking, and using your rolling pin to flatten it out. Keep turning the fondant 180 degrees ever so often, and try to keep the fondant in a round shape, as your cake is also going to be round. Do not lift or flip the fondant over, as this may cause it to rip. We're trying to keep the fondant at about 1/4 thickness, and if you need to add more sugar and cornstarch, please do so. I had a little inch diameter on there that helped me to keep the fondant at a certain thickness, but I want it to be a little bit thinner, so I took them off. So you're going to keep rolling it out. This does take time. Be patient. You don't want it to rip, but take your time, make sure it's even. Now we're done. We're going to now lightly use the cornstarch and powdered sugar and put it over the rolling pin so we can flip it onto the cake. Now we're going to flip the fondant over onto the cake and put away our rolling pin. And now we're going to gently start working the fondant over the actual cake, using our hands to smooth it over the cake as well as on the top, in addition to on the sides. This does take time. You do want to work a little fast because you don't want your fondant to start to rip as it is coming down onto the cake. So take your time as you do it, but you still want to move in a gradual, fast-paced motion. As you notice, I'm taking my time, thinning it out, and using my hands to make sure that the fondant starts to stick to the actual cake. Remember, the cake has been chilled, so it may not stick completely right away, but just keep using your hands and moving it and working it around as the fondant starts to stick to your cake. Just remember, take your time, use your smoother as well as your hands, and that helps you get the best results. Just remember that there's still a cake underneath the fondant, so you still want to take your time. Make sure that you don't dent the cake in the process of smoothing, and just go around with the smoother and making an indent to where you're going to get ready to cut the excess fondant off. As you see, it still takes some time to get it completely over the cake. You're still working at a gradual pace to get the fondant completely over your entire cake. Still moving it and pushing it down with your hands as well as with your smoother, and making it go all around. The smoother definitely helps, guys, to keep everything intact and making sure that the fondant sticks to the actual cake. See, as you can see, I'm almost done, but it still takes some time. And at that last part, you want to make sure there's no creases. So as you can see, I'm just smoothing it out, and I'm now using my cutter to cut away any excess fondant. This, you want to take your time so that you don't nick the cake in the process of cutting off the excess fondant. Still use your smoother to smooth it out. I created like a fondant paste for a place where there was like a little indentation, and I'm just smoothing it out. I have 2 smoothers now, making sure that the fondant is completely onto the cake, smooth and clean. There you go. Now we have covered a cake in fondant.